media scene. I got something on my mind, something on the brother's mind. I got Columbus Day, genocide, and hatred on my mind. America hates you as well as me, but America loves money. America loves land. America loves power. And that's the way it's going to be till it burns down. I watch the news and people actually talk as though they're going to change America. They're going to change the spirit and uh, how white America functions and uh, acts. Yet they call America a God-fearing country, and they claim that the people who run America love God, but the people who run this country do not love God. I don't know where they're getting this from. That the powers that be, they love God. The only thing I see from God is judgment. The Most High bringing judgment to America, and more judgment on top of more judgment. So, I don't know why people actually believe that America will change. America is never going to change, and God is going to judge America. And the Lord is going to uplift you, so called Negroes and Hispanics, who are the Most High's chosen people. So, this Monday is Columbus Day, and they're going to honor this man Columbus, this thief, this devil, this man who opened the doors to diseases, who opened the doors to plagues, who opened the door to genocide, who opened the door to greed. This is what followed Columbus on our so-called Hispanic brothers and sisters. This is what followed. So all these things followed the devil, just like the North American Indians, you know, pain and suffer and misery followed the devil in those examples. So-called Aborigines of Australia, pain and suffering followed them as well. The people in South Africa, the Hamites, pain and suffering followed them as well. So everywhere this man goes, he brings pain and suffering and torment and sorrow. Yet, you know, they promote this day as a day of joy and a day of greatness. Man, they honor Columbus. I see nothing honorable about that. But to me, I saw it as a chance to take over lands that didn't belong to them, and the same cycle continues. The same cycle continues. I'm not trying to be personal in the issue, but history reveals and displays this perfectly. You have the Israelites, you have the Ishmaelites, you have the Hamites, you have the Edomites, and out of all the groups, the main group of people that have taken over the earth and who have reaped or spilled or inflicted havoc all over the earth were the children of Edom, so-called Europeans today. This is a fact, and this you can't get around. Yet they're going to label this man Columbus as a great man. This is why during the riots in the summertime, I can't really blame the people for wanting to tear down the Columbus statues, General Lee, and anything that pertained to the Civil War, from a Southern perspective, or any perspective that deals with genocide or oppression or pain and suffering inflicted on any people. But I'm mainly concerned with my people. I'm mainly concerned with my people. Just like all nationalities, they're concerned with their people. All nationalities try to build up their people. The only people that are interested in other people to a higher degree where they forget their own people is our people, so-called Negroes, as well as Hispanics, who are the Israelites. who are the Israelites. And millions of dollars go into funding the destruction of our people, whether you believe it or not. Millions of dollars. They say a lot of the banks and corporations and money holders today benefited from past generations through slavery. In other words, slavery was a profitable business more than 400 years ago, and a lot of the families today benefited from what their forefathers did and the wealth they accumulated over 400 years ago, and have stacked money on top of money or old money from past generations. Meanwhile, the so-called Negroes, your money stays in the black community, what, a couple of minutes, and it goes into the hands of the other nationalities or your enemies. It goes right back into the hands and pockets, rather, or bank accounts or real estate or business of your enemies. And this is a shame, but this is something to think about. This is something that's on my mind, something on my mind, and it should be on your mind very frequently. So we got this day, Columbus Day coming up. It said, why Columbus Day? Why Columbus Day court controversy? And it should be really looked into. There's a fight going on in a lot of the schools because the liberals, they want to bring out true history. They want to bring out the facts of what's happening, and you have the white conservatives as well as just plain whites crying, "Oh no, we don't need to talk about that. That's dividing us more." The truth never divides unless you're wicked. The truth never separates unless you're afraid of the truth or you're ashamed of what you're sitting on top of. And white privilege, that does exist. And a lot of people, they are ashamed of their white privilege. They're ashamed of that. But it says, like many European explorers, Christopher Columbus encountered indigenous people throughout his voyages. It says there are three main sources of controversy involving his interactions with the indigenous people he labeled Indians: the use of violence and slavery, the use of violence and slavery and forced conversions of native people to Christianity, to native people, of native people to Christianity, and the introduction of a host of new diseases, that would have dramatic long-term effects on native people in the Americas. Now, can you dispute that? Is that just hate speech? Am I being vindictive? Or is that basic history? Basic history. See, and this goes all around the board. Everybody hates us. Now, granted, you got a few liberals or some people who are not subjective; they think objectively, and they want to have some type of pity towards our people. Granted, you have that, but for the most part, everybody hates us. Everybody hates us. But now we're in a time where we have to unify because the so-called Negroes and the so-called Hispanics, we're both brothers. We're brothers. The so-called Dominicans, Cubans, Mexicans, we all are brothers. And what's happening in these last days, a lot of the Hispanics are starting to realize that. A lot of the Hispanics, they're starting to see the racism and the hatred coming from our enemies, the so-called white man, his hatred spilling over into the world, not just our people, but all over the world. The so-called white man, his hatred is all over the world. And the world realizes that this man is a master of disaster historically and even currently. They're seeing that. So last night, we went into the book of Obadiah and we read where all the people who were in league with Esau have now turned against Esau. Even though they ate Esau's bread, Esau's wealth, Esau being the so-called Europeans, they have all now turned against this man. You have now turned against these people, whether they're in the UK, whether they're in France, whether they're in America, whether they're in Russia. They all have the same spirit, and that's to dominate, take over, and destroy. We see this country is on the verge of collapse. That this man, Joe Biden, as well as with other people in power, are bringing socialist views to this country and a socialist ideology that's not new. It's a proven fact that when you practice socialism or you instill that country falls. That country falls. America is gonna fall. And I hope and I pray that you so-called Negroes and Hispanics, you are prepared for the fall of America. I pray that you're putting money away for a rainy day, and it's about to rain. That you have generators, candles, batteries, dry goods stocked up, because this country is heading for economic crash, and violence is going to be at your doorsteps. Violence will be at your doorsteps. It's coming. It's very much coming. It says in the era in which the international slave trade was starting to grow, Columbus and his men enslaved many native inhabitants of the West Indies, and subjected them to extreme violence and brutality. On his famous first voyage in 1492, Columbus landed on an unknown Caribbean island after an arduous 3-month journey. The boat should have sank. The boat should have sank. Columbus landed on an unknown Caribbean island after an arduous 3-month journey. On his first day in the New World, he ordered 6 of the natives to be seized. Were these Negroes? Were these West Indians? Or do these people look like Poppy at the bodega? Do you look like Hector Cruz at the bodega? These natives that were seized, these 6 natives that were seized, did they look like Pancho? A puppet? On his first day in the New World, thieves, demons, robbers. He ordered 6 of the natives to be seized, written in his journal, that he believed they would be good servants. You know, a lot of the Hispanics, they cut their damn hands off if they didn't produce enough gold. Fed them to dogs. Raped women. Chopped off the heads of so-called Hispanics for sport. But a lot of Hispanics, you're dumb as hell. You're dumb as hell because you forget this part of history. You're not taught this part of history. You're taught about Xbox and Fat Joe and the Terror Squad. This is what you're taught. And Hispanics, you get dumber and dumber every year. Go up into the Bronx and look how dumb and silly Hispanics are today. Go into Bushwick in Brooklyn and see how dumb Hispanics are today. How silly they are. But yet a lot of Hispanics, you think you're white. You think you're white and you think you're different from so-called blacks. But when you come in this country, you go right with the so-called blacks. When you go to jail, you with the other gangbangers right there in the jails with so-called blacks. When you walk past the white woman, she holds her pocketbook real tight. 250 pounds, she holds that pocketbook real tight. Just like she would do if a black man was crossing her. And every year you have that stupid Puerto Rican Day parade, you act savage and beastly, just like the so-called Negroes during the Labor Day parade. No difference. No difference. I'll give Hispanics one thing: your family structure is a lot better than the so-called blacks. But overall, you're discriminated against just like the so-called blacks. You reap the hell just like the so-called blacks. And you act a fool just like so-called blacks, West Indians, and Haitians. You act a fool. But fortunately, it's very fortunate the Most High is going to unify us. He's going to bring us back together. And, you know, the hatred is going to go away. It's prophesied that the hatred is going to go away. It's prophesied about the envy and hate. In the book of Psalms, I think it's 83, Judah shall not vex Ephraim or hate Ephraim, and Ephraim shall not vex or hate Judah. Most High is going to bring us back together. You see it in just the negativity alone. When they had the riots over the summer, who do you see looting in most cities that consist of blacks and Hispanics? You've seen blacks and Hispanics looting and stealing together. And you've seen the fear of our enemies, of so-called white people, when they watched cities being burned with fire and the Democrats did nothing about it. You've seen the fear of our enemies, so-called Edomites. As the cities were burned down, cops were shot at, police cars were torched, busted up. See, these are all signs that this country is about to fall. These are all signs that it's a wrap. Be stupid if you want. Watch Dave Chappelle and the Cowboys and the Yankees and the Mets. Watch all that stuff and try to ignore what's happening around you. The most powerfulest country in this earth is about to fall by the hands of the Most High. Oh yeah, the Most High, He exists. God exists. And a lot of you shun that understanding because you want to live your wicked lifestyles. There's going to be a judgment. There's going to be a falling. And a lot of brothers and sisters, you're not prepared for that. A lot of you brothers and sisters, including Hispanics, you are not prepared for that. You're not prepared for that. You're not prepared for that at all. Romans 12, verse 17. It says, recompense to no man evil for evil. See that? Very clear. So, this will save your life. This will save your life. Recompense meaning, in other words, don't give back to no man evil for evil. Be humble, take low cheek. It will save your life. Recompense to no man evil for evil, providing things honest in the sight of all men. In other words, live a gospel-spirited, righteous lifestyle in the sight of all men. I know we make mistakes, we slip up, especially with the mouth. I have a bad habit of that. I have little patience for ignorance and Negro-dom. Little patience. But I'm working on it because I know in the long run it's going to help me, it's going to benefit for me, and bottom line, it will save my life. This is why the Lord said, recompense to no man evil for evil, provide things honest in the sight of all men. Even the devil, the so-called white man, all men. See, if you want to hate the white man devil campaign, you're not going to make it because the Bible consists of many attributes that build you up into a man of the Most High, a warrior in the spirit of truth and righteousness. Your levels of how deep and rugged you are in hating the white man, you're far from any connection to spirituality. Don't get me wrong now, the white man, he's the devil, and he is to be expounded on, or talked about or revealed in these last days. But what good is that if you're weak in faith? You're weak in doing right towards your brother. You're weak in taking care of your children. You're weak in earning a honest living. You're weak in communicating in righteousness to your brothers and sisters. What sense that make if you're a sister, you're still dressing like a whore or showing your behind on the low? Or you're going from man to man on the low? Or brother, you're going from woman to woman on the low. What good is any of that? A lot of us, we stay with the white man being the devil and the hate towards the white man because we don't want to see our flaws in righteousness. So it's easier to stay in the Hebrew. It's easier to stay in the history. It's easier to stay in current events rather than changing your spirit. It's easier. And and I don't claim, I don't claim to be any expert in these areas. It's just something I realize in me, something I see in me, and I gotta fix me. Just like you have to fix you. You have to fix you. Bottom line. Bottom line. But I mean, this is clear. It's very clear. It says, "I recompense to no man evil for evil, providing things honest in the sight of all men, if it be possible. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably. Live peaceably with all men, if it's possible." There's a lot of situations you can go back and check in your past where you may have been in confrontation or even a fight, a physical fight, or have done something stupid when it was possible to be in peace with that situation or that brother or that sister or even the devil Esau. And some of you are silently because of stupid decisions you have made, men and women, because you didn't choose to live peaceably with all men. You said the wrong thing, you lost your job. You said the wrong thing, you got punched in your face. You said the wrong thing, you got shot or stabbed. You said the wrong thing, and now you lost people who were once close to you. Or you did the wrong thing because it was not impossible for you to, act in a spiritual way with a bad situation. And we're gonna live through and see a lot of bad situations as time goes on. We're going to see a lot of bad situations as time go on, and this is why I'm saying you can't just live in the history. You can't just live in the history. You have to live in spirituality. You have to live in righteousness. Some of you are comfortable. You're comfortable where you're at now. You're comfortable in the lifestyle you're in now, and that's an issue. You've become so comfortable you don't see what the Most High is dropping on you or in the world. You don't see these things. But those of you who are spiritual, you see it clearly. And some of you use a comfort, and I mentioned this in a couple of videos. You use the comfort to mask the reality that's around you. Picture you in the middle of a big circle, and the outer part of the circle, or I guess it's called a circumference, the circle is coming closer and closer to a dot in the middle of the circle, and the dot is being you. And the more you prolong getting into spiritual action, the more you prolong or put off getting your spirit right, eventually that circle is going to close and choke the hell out of you, choke the hell out of your family, destroy you. You have many different examples of this. I always say that the things in the past that you can get away with, you had time to get away with certain things. But now you got to think sharp now. Now you got to make decisions a lot quicker than you did many years ago. which requires the spirit of the Bible. This is why things are not panning out for you now. Before, you can stretch a dollar or put off the creditors for a while or dodge the repo man. Now problems and situations are on your asses now. Excuse my language. It's on your asses now. The negative of the devil and the trials and tribulations are right up to your nose now. And you know who you are. You know who I'm talking to. We all got to deal with it. And it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. The mandates are not going to go away anytime soon. And when they do go away, which I believe they will go away eventually, it's going to be something else. Because the devil is playing for keeps now. He's playing for keeps. You have to be wise. The Lord said, knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times. And this is what we're at. We're in bad times where we need to be stabilized in the spirit of the Most High. We need the knowledge and wisdom of the Heavenly Father in these times. These are rough times. These are extremely rough times. You can say, no, it's not. No. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You better believe it. It says again, 18 verse says, if it's possible, let me get it bigger for myself. I can't see nothing. It says, if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Live peaceably with all men. That includes the white man. I used to work for a brokerage house downtown Manhattan. Well, a few brokerage houses. You know, I was doing the Wall Street thing. I don't know high level. I'm not no Wall Street tycoon, but in certain cases, it would be me and a few brothers and sisters working at a specific brokerage house. And the Spirit had it that in the majority of cases, not a few, but in the majority of cases, if it was a small firm, that Jake that's in the world would be fired before me. Now I'm on that these people are the devil, that America is going to burn, that the Most High, he's against in affections, wicked affections, in love, if you know what I'm talking about. And the Spirit had it that it protected me because I walked in the spirit of peace with my enemies. I talked with football with the enemies. I talked about music with the enemy. I stayed in my lane and they stayed in their lane. They had their racist views towards me, and I had my racist views towards them. But nonetheless, I stayed in my lane. I lived peaceably with the enemy. The Apocrypha says not to trust in the enemy. The Apocrypha says, be not ignorant in anything small or great. So there's great benefit in following the Spirit of the Most High. There's great benefit in following the instructions of the Most High. If possible, as much as lieth in you, meaning in your spirit, as much as lieth in you, meaning in your brain, as much as lieth in you, what you have learned from the brothers and the sisters, whether it's Sabbath service, whether it's camp, whether it's sit downs. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men, including the devil. Oh, that's talking about all men of Israel. No, it's not. It's talking about all men. All men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourself, but rather give place to wrath. It's written, vengeance is mine, and I will repay, saith the Most High. I will repay, saith the Most High. Vengeance is the Most High. He's going to use Israel. It tells you that in the book of Ezekiel. He's going to use Israel, but that's going to be in this time. But if it's possible, live peaceably with all people. Bottom line. You can't get around that. That's what the Most High is saying. And if you go outside of that, you are a fool. You are a fool if you go outside of that. You are a total fool. I want to show you something because this is the real world we're living in now. This is the real
Getting our
world.
first look tonight at some dramatic body cam video. This is a police shooting in Lawndale. In fact, this was the scene last month where two Chicago police officers were shot and the suspected gunman also wounded. Investigators saying that those officers were responding to a shot spotter alert and they approached a man that they then saw in the area. So here's the newly released body cam video. You can see the police there following. The man's going down the alley there and they're shouting at him to stop, but he's keeping on walking until he suddenly then takes out a gun and fire at them. I do want to warn you that the video you're about to see is disturbing, but remember, everyone survived.
Show your hands, dude. Get your hands out of your pocket. Dude, stop. Get your hands up. Come on.
Now here's that confrontation again. This is from the other officer's body cam.
Look at this crap.
Police returned fire, and the suspect, who we now know as Bruce Lua, was hit in the leg but survived. Both of the injured officers are also okay, and in fact, they were.
Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. And a lot of you you're not going to like this. A lot of these people, a lot of these brothers who are shot, who are killed, a lot of these brothers, they're shot because they're not in the right mindset. A lot of these brothers who are shot, they're doing the wrong thing in the streets to our own people. To our own people. A lot of these brothers that are shot, they're doing the wrong thing to our people. And you can be mad and say that's not true. You know damn well it's true. A lot of these cops are not as evil as you make them out to be. I was in Penn Station and a cops, transit police was arresting someone. And you had people with their cell phones out saying, let him go, why he ain't do nothing. You know, the same verbiage you hear every time you watch these videos. What he did, he didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. A lot of times they did do something. In most cases, they did something. And I was standing by this cop, and you know what the cop told me? See, a lot of you brothers and sisters, you complain. He was a regular brother, cop. 9 to 5 cop. And he said a lot of times, you guys, you come at the end, you watch the videos from the end or the middle of the situation, but you don't know what transpired prior to us putting the cuffs on a particular person. And that's true. And that's true. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any dirty, wicked KKK cop killers out there. They exist too. But in a lot of cases, just because a person is a brother or sister doesn't mean they're good. Doesn't mean they're good. Bottom line. Bottom line. You don't want no problems with the cops. In most cases, obey the powers that be, comply with them, and pray to the Most High they're not there to kill you. These are the times we're in. I was going back and forth with one brother, and he was like, you got to fight back. Man, I'm 6'3", 250 pounds, and I work out. You think the cops are going to fight me, give me a fair one? They're going to just want to tackle me? I'm a big dude and a so-called black man. So I put myself in danger if I think on emotions. Bottom line, if I think on emotions, I put myself in serious harm's way. Now, is the Esau, the white man, is he wicked? You better believe he's wicked. You better believe he's wicked. Racism exists and it's not going away. Like I said when I opened up, you got a lot of people who believe this country's going to change. The white man ain't going to change. Come on. White man is not going to change. Oh, racism is something that's taught to children, and that's how it's come to pass. If they teach the children differently, the country will be differently. That's a damn lie. especially if you believe in scripture and you know that Esau is the so-called white man. The Most High put the spirit on Esau to live by the sword, and this man is going to die by the sword. He's going to die by the sword, bottom line. Don't care about your feelings. A lot of you are just too emotional, whether it's the truth or a lie, too emotional. But again, if possible, live peaceably with all men. In certain cases, you can't be at peace with all. A perfect example. It says, monkey sounds, slurs, and strobe lights target a black family, but police say they're powerless to stop this. Stop it. That's bullcrap. That's bull sh. Because if these same people were harassing the so-called Jew, if they were harassing the so-called Jew, it would be a whole different story. It'd be a whole different story. If this was happening in on Lee Avenue in Brooklyn or Eastern Parkway or Park Slope, and black people, so-called blacks, were making these sounds towards uh, these people, the cops would stop it instantly. Instantly. And people would be in jail. People would be in jail instantly. But because of so-called black people, it's a whole different situation, a whole different story. Making monkey sounds and strobe lights towards a black resident or possibly black residences. You know what I would have did? I would have got the biggest damn speakers from Guitar Center, and I would have pointed it right back at those people. And I would play Farrakhan tapes every single day. I'd play Khalid Muhammad tapes every single day. I play brothers teaching on the street, including myself, every day. I would prophesy the downfall of America right in their backyards, right by their windows every single day. Every single day. I'd drive them crazy. There's a brother that used to be in this truth. I don't know what happened to this brother. I believe he lived in Florida, and he was getting the same treatment. The same treatment. They had to move his fence. They was doing work, and the city was on top of them about certain regulations. They was hitting them with that they didn't have to hit this bro with, and he was in the truth. And he just disappeared. He had a story. He posted it up. He did a live feed, and he posted it up. Definitely needed the help of the brothers. I really wonder what happened with that situation. I really wonder what happened with that situation. But America hates you. America hates you. Bottom line, America hates you. Accept it, get used to it. America hates you. Bottom line. Could you imagine living like this? Could you imagine dealing with this crap? Janique Martinez says that since July, her family has had to endure recordings of loud screeching monkey noises and recordings of racial slurs directed toward their Virginia Beach, Virginia Beach, Virginia home every time they leave or enter their residence. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? Martinez, who is black, claims her neighbor has set up motion sensors to detect the family's movements and harass them, but police, citing no physical confrontation or verbal threats, have said there's nothing they can do. See, now this is a case where the police, they're showing their true nature as devils. Do I believe that all police officers are devils? No, I do not. But they are part of a devil organization. There's no doubt about that. Claims her neighbors have set up motion sensors. So every time they walk in and out, the sensor probably goes off, and you hear all this whoo, whoo, and N-word, C-word, C-O-O, N-word. It says, but police, citing no physical confrontation or verbal threats, said there's nothing they can do. This week, following national news attention, Martinez said that the loud noises coming from her neighbor's home had finally stopped. But she says the neighbor continues to display dizzying strobe lights. Man, I hit them so hard, so hard. But now, if you're an emotional Negro and you've seen videos, you've seen it on Facebook, social media, World Star, where so-called black men and black women they get physical in a situation like this, and then they end up getting arrested or looking like beasts and savages on social media. There's ways to deal with opposition. There's ways to deal with it. It's a lot of ways to deal with it. If you're smart and you're not in your emotions, if you are smart and you're not in your emotions, there's ways to deal with it. It says, back to this. It says, on his first day, Columbus, this savage beast who opened the door to slavery, who opened the door to genocide and European diseases. On his first day in the New World, he ordered 6 of the natives to be seized, writing in his journal that he believed they would be good servants throughout his years in the New World. That's something. Throughout his years in the New World, Columbus enacted policies of force in which natives were put to work for the sake of profit. See that? Put to work for the sake of profit. It sounds familiar? That sounds familiar, right? You better believe it sounds familiar. The so-called blacks, they were put into servitude or slavery for profit. For profit. Columbus enacted policies of forced labor in which natives were put to work for the sake of profits. Later, Columbus sent thousands of peaceful Taínos. Later, Columbus sent thousands of peaceful Taíno Indians from the island of Hispaniola to Spain to be sold. Many died en route. Many died en route, just like the so-called blacks, they died en route to the Americas. Just like the so-called blacks, they was forced to labor and be slaves in the Americas. Sounds familiar? Sounds familiar to me. Sounds very familiar to me. Very, very familiar. Those left behind were forced to search for gold in mines and worked on plantations. Who was this? Those were the blacks. Black only, 12 tribes, black only. Those are the blacks. Those left behind were forced to search for gold in mines and work on plantations. Within 60 years after Columbus landed, only a few hundred of what may have been 250,000 Taínos were left on the island. As governor and viceroy of the Indies, Columbus imposed iron discipline on what is now the Caribbean country of the Dominican Republic. Yet you got a lot of Dominicans today, they think they're white. They think they're different from so-called blacks. You're just Spanish-speaking N-words in the minds of so-called Edomites. You know who the Edomites are. That's it, bottom line. That's it, bottom line. You can't get around that. So, something to think about, something on the brother's mind. I got to go and take care of Sabbath business. Serve the Most High. And I'm sure a lot of you who are in the faith, you got to do the same thing. Do me a favor, give me a thumbs up, man. Give me a thumbs up on the videos. I keep forgetting to, mention that. But a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated, and share these videos. But this Monday, you so-called Negroes and Hispanics, you bear in mind what happened to the Taínos. You bear in mind of the reality that we're dealing with today. You bear that in mind, because there is truth. There is what the Most High is bringing out in these last days. And the truth gonna come out. America will fall, and justice will prevail through what's written in Scripture. But If possible, be at peace with all people. I'm telling you, it goes a long way. I know it's hard. If someone disrespects you or come at you the wrong way, it's hard because we're frustrated. We tired of the BS. I get it. I get like that, and I'm not perfect in it. I flip the hell out sometimes, man, till I catch myself and I say, I can't believe I said that, or I can't believe I did that. But bear this in spirit and take it from there. This is Brother McQuarrie signing out. Shalom, peace. Be a pillar to your brothers and sisters who are weak in faith. Support the brothers and sisters who are lagging behind spiritually. Have mercy on brothers and sisters have mercy on brothers and sisters who may have offended you, and support one another. This is Brother McQuarrie signing out. Shalom.